Well, I'm Natascia Hatch. Thank you, Jake. It's really nice to be here. Okay, so I'm CEO of MJM Yachts. We are a luxury yacht manufacturer in Eastern North Carolina. We build a yacht that has a down east um, pilot house with a Carolina flare, and the lengths range from 38 feet to 47.
Sweet. I guess how'd you kind of end up in the luxury yacht business? I feel like kind of, at least from my perspective, people kind of don't grow up and they're like, oh, I want to be a CEO of a luxury yacht company. So I guess kind of how'd you end up in the role that you have now?
So it's interesting. I started out as an accountant and had a very varied business experiences. Actually, was an entrepreneur, started a company, sold it, became a teacher. And it was when I was teaching entrepreneurship, and I Hatteras Yachts, that's right close to where I live, was looking for an accountant, and I felt like I was fulfilling something being a teacher, but professionally I needed a little bit more. So I started working at Hatteras, and when I was there, um, I felt like there was more that I could contribute to the organization than closing the books every month or working on a budget. So, not minimizing the necessity of those tasks, it wasn't my long term
For sure.
dream. So, I went into operations as a program manager, and I started working in the new product development department, and ultimately got promoted to chief program manager. So, while I was there, I got to learn how yachts were designed, how they were built, and then I was recruited from a company or by a company called Iconic Marine Group, and they build fountain powerboats, Donzi, and Baja. And while I was there, I had the opportunity to be director of finance, supply chain, and production planning. And when you think about those titles, you think like it's the whole back end of an organization,
For
right? Like
sure.
supply chain, how all of the parts get their production planning, how the boats move down the production line, and then combining those two things, it was how do we make sure as boats are moving down the production line, they have all the materials they need. And then finance still was, it was keeping my core competency. So I served in those roles for several years, and then MJM Yachts offered me the position of chief operating officer, which was really my goal. It was my dream. I wanted to
Yeah.
be COO. And when I got over there, I had the ability of running it all. So engineering, production, facilities, and that was the biggest learning curve ever. When
I'm
you
sure. Yeah.
well, when you run the back end, you're
Yeah.
not responsible for actually moving the boats down the line, and then you take on operations, and everything becomes your responsibility. So that was tremendous. And after COO for 2 years, I was offered the position of CEO, and that really is everything um, under me, with sales being a department that I had never had any exposure to. So, understanding sales and marketing and um, brand recognition and brand value, all of those things, I'm truly learning as I go. And I'm so thankful because I'm surrounded by a great team and great dealer network. So, I reach out to folks when I don't understand or I need some guidance or just need
For
to
sure.
understand
Yeah.
what's happening in the market. And everyone's so helpful, which is guidance I'd offer to
Yeah.
everybody, which is ask every question imaginable because, yeah, it's why I love what you're doing, right? Understanding what
Yeah.
businesses do because it's the only way to grow.
For sure. Yeah. I appreciate all that. I mean, that was great. I guess like for my own curiosity, like could you kind of give me some insight into like kind of like what a day to day looks like for you? Like are you like taking meetings? Are you like shipping the yachts off? Like are you hands on? Kind of like what does that look like?
Okay, so day to day. So I get in and I typically take a walk up the production floor, and I do that for a number of reasons. One, I want to say hi to everybody. We have about 100
Yeah.
employees, team members. They're my team, but I like to say hi to everybody in the morning. So I I walk around the facility. I love to see where the boats are in the production phase. And then I just start, I mean, really it's meetings. So it's, we have sales and operations meetings, we have leadership meetings, we have dealer calls, we have new product development calls. It's pretty dynamic. The day, no 2 days are ever the same, which I think that I love. And it's it's engaging and it's pretty incredible. Like to build a boat it's a fascinating process. You've got rolls of fiberglass and totes of resin, and then you have molds, which I always give the example of baking a cake. It's like the inverse of
Yeah,
whatever you're building, and it's at such a huge scale. So it's an incredible process. And yeah, anyway, I love what I do, and no 2 days are the same. So there are days where I can be jam-packed meeting after meeting after meeting, and then there's some days where I get to go out on a sea trial and spend time on the water, like really
for sure.
appreciating what we build.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. Uh, I guess like in relation to like the structure of these boats, I mean, I'm fascinated by it. Like, I guess how do you guys kind of like get your parts, or like where does that come in? Do you like contract it out? I'm
Okay.
very interested in kind of that whole process and how that works.
So we're really vertically integrated. So
Good.
we
Yeah.
buy a lot of raw materials, and especially our all of our laminate components um, are we make them, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's literally it's fiberglass, it's core, it's like pro boards. It's different materials to add strength to the frame of the hull, and then so we infuse our hulls with an epoxy resin, and epoxy has to have a secondary cure. So
Hmm.
when you infuse everything, you're like pushing, actually really pulling resin through tubes, through the glass, and then out via this pump. And what that does is it keeps a really consistent um, epoxy to glass ratio, and it creates an extremely strong hull. And after we infuse the hull and we set the grid in it, the hull goes into this post-curing oven, and we are one of the very few manufacturers that have this.
Hmm.
So we put the hull in this oven, and it cures. We like to say it bakes, but it's a
Yeah.
secondary
Yeah.
cure where it gets up to between 150 and 180 degrees for upwards of 13 hours. And that just, with that secondary cure, it makes the epoxy really set. So the boat is just as strong as can be.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting to me. I mean, I'm fascinated in the process of actually like building the things, whether that's like a company, whether that's a boat, a yacht. Uh, I find that stuff so fascinating. And I think also one of the things I'm most intrigued about is kind of like what was the biggest shift in like the role from like COO moving up to CEO? I guess like what kind of things in your either day-to-day life or like when you're taking meetings, or kind of what was the biggest shift from changing roles?
Well, it was interesting. When I was COO, there was always the CEO,
Yeah.
right? So it was like there was always somebody to call.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when you become the CEO,
Yeah.
you're that person that people are calling. So, you that was probably the biggest shift is you don't have the same network that you had, right? Because when you're COO, you've got the CFO that you can
Yeah.
kind of your peer. But we're really fortunate. We're owned by a PE firm, and the partners of the PE firm have really become mentors to me. So, I'm able to call them when I have just questions or I want to talk about something that happened during the day or whatever. So that's probably the biggest thing personally with HR related, but professionally, taking on sales has been the biggest change for me. When in none of my roles prior to boat manufacturing or in boat manufacturing did I really worry about say I always worried about it, but I wasn't
Yeah, for
responsible.
sure. Yeah.
So um, taking on sales and marketing, you know, was probably the biggest thing to add to the plate. And, thankfully, we have a really strong VP of marketing, and yeah, that's great. And we have a great sales team. So they are tremendous, and MJM is coming back, if you will. But understanding how clients and customers want to be engaged, and the timeline that it takes from the first time that they or a customer sees an MJM before they purchase, like understanding that timeline, understanding what it really takes to nurture customers. And, I like to say that we're not selling yachts, we're selling memories, because, we're selling a vessel that people are going to take their family on, and it's got to be seaworthy, and
For
it's
sure.
got to be safe. And, I want people to step aboard our yachts and feel luxury, and I want them to feel like it's an environment where they can, have friends and family, and create beautiful memories.
Absolutely. And I think kind of hidden in there is, I think, a very key lesson that a lot of people can learn from, in that, like, when you're in sales or marketing, you don't want to sell based on the product. Like, you're not talking about the epoxy glass and the fiber and whatever it takes to go into the yachts. Like, you're talking about the result and kind of the value you're providing to whoever you're trying to sell to. So, I think that applies to pretty much everybody, everywhere, trying to sell anything.
It's really hard though, but you've got to be able to differentiate yourself, because, right, like,
For sure.
anyone can say, oh, well, you'll get memories on my boat and you'll get memories on their boat. But it's like, well, what makes what you're presenting or what you're offering a better choice, right? So, like, it's really important to understand what your customer's looking for. And so it's kind of like what you're doing right now. You're asking a lot of questions, right? And it's what we do to our customers. Like, I only want to sell an MJM to a customer that MJM's the right boat for. If
For sure.
if it's not the right boat for somebody, I don't want them to have it, because they won't have a great experience. I want the person who christens an MJM to know that it's the right boat for them. So it's really understanding what our customers are looking for, and and helping our dealers, because we work through a dealer network, and our dealers are fantastic. So they interact with the customers directly, and we do kind of indirectly. And but our dealers do a tremendous job of understanding their customers, and making sure that they're getting the right purchase.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was great. I guess on kind of a more like personal level, like, how do you lead a team? Obviously, kind of from our past experience and what I already know of you, I'm sure you're not kind of like breathing down everybody's necks, like,
actually I
very
am.
hard on. Really? Oh.
No, I'm teasing. You know what, Jake? It depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what's going on. And it's interesting. I tell the team, if I'm nervous about something, I'm going to be breathing down your neck. If I feel confident, I'll leave you alone. And so it varies. It depends on what's happening in each department as to how involved I get. I definitely like to know what's going on. And I think because I've had so many of the roles as I was moving into the CEO position, in my head, I kind of feel like I know what should be happening. And, I'm trying really hard to empower my team members to make decisions and lead their departments. I think that's really important as a leader, to believe in your team and empower them to be leaders of their departments. And I hope they think that I try to lead that way. I certainly try. I definitely, I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and clean a yacht, or, caulk something if I need to, or tighten a screw if it's in a tight spot. Like, I'll do whatever it takes. And I hope the team knows that. So leadership style, I would say servant leadership. Like, I'm there to help everybody.
For sure. Yeah, I love that. Something that came up kind of when you said that, one of the things I'm most interested in too is like how information flows throughout a company. So obviously we all have 24 hours in a day. We all only have a certain amount of time to work and to dedicate to business and to take meetings. So like, I guess, how would you best explain how information kind of like gets to you like through the supply chain? Like, is it like you're in direct coordination with the manager and then they manage the team, or you kind of talk to everybody, or how does that work from your perspective?
So, okay, so at MJM, we have a COO who's responsible for operations, and then we have a VP of supply chain who's responsible of purchasing materials and making sure that those materials get to the boats. And then we have a VP of engineering who's responsible for really how we build the boats, right? And
Okay.
then we've got a VP of marketing and sales, and we've got, I know I'm forgetting somebody, HR.
Yeah.
So I talk to each of those leaders daily. There's not a day that I won't talk to every single person. As a team, we have a meeting once a week, and we call it the executive leadership meeting. And so it's me and that group of professionals, and we talk about what each department is doing and how it affects what other departments have. And most of it is making sure that operations can run smoothly. So it's, supply chain, making sure that we have the materials. It's sales, making sure that we have the order. It's HR, making sure we have the people, right? Like it's marketing to make sure that, there's sales coming through the pipeline and
Yeah.
customers are learning about the brand. And then it's, so everybody's got their job, that feeds the machine, which is operation.
For sure.
Right? So how information flows. I'm pretty old school. I like a lot of paper, so I get a lot of reports, and I like that. We use email. We use an ERP system called Epicor, and with Epicor, we can keep track of materials and labors being issued to boats. We're just dabbling a little bit with Power BI and looking at live data as far as like how many hours or in a boat at a station, and just starting to dabble in that a little bit. And it's pretty awesome what technology is evolving to. I was telling the story earlier about interns that we have this summer, and they have such a different appreciation for technology and different tools. They seem to be able to get things done a lot faster than we did before.
Oh, yeah.
I used to have to come up with complex Excel calculations to do different things, and now it's like, hey, Chat GPT, this is what I'm trying to do, and or Claude or whatever it is, and they can create these fantastic models, and it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, what we do is kind of implement AI into businesses. So that's kind of what we're working with every day on how we can best optimize and save you guys time and make you guys money. So I guess my job is to show business owners out there the real benefits of AI and be able to, I guess, explain these like very complex systems in more of a value-based sense. So instead of saying, here's all this complicated AI hardware and software, and this is how you set it up, this is how you do all this stuff, what we provide is kind of just the result. So we say, this is how you communicate, this is how you make it to do whatever you want to do, whether that's brand awareness, whether that's marketing, whether that's lead gen, and we build that custom to kind of what you guys want. But sorry, to get back to you.
No, Jake, like, here's the thing. I love what you're doing here. So when you talk about all of the things that you guys can do, when I think about like what MJM needs, and we're working on brand recognition, right? So MJM's, it's a boutique manufacturer. I would never want to produce multiple hundred boats a year because it would take away from who we are. However, I want people to know MJM. I want that boat to come down the river or be on, one of the oceans, and people to say, oh, that's an MJM. And, it's an aspirational vessel. And it's, so I'm intrigued, honestly, on how AI could help us, because like we tailor to a very exclusive clientele. And So, you know, lots of Instagram posts won't do it, right? So it's like,
For
how do
sure.
you break through and um, and and represent a brand that is a luxury, right? And um, with that has like I'm trying to think of the what I'm trying to describe. Like I'm trying to just like I'm not selling a widget. That's what I mean. Like I'm not selling a widget. So like how do you use AI or how could you use AI to grow brand recognition of a luxury product? How does that
Yeah.
work? Because like, like when we all get on Instagram or whatever, it's like, we're selling vitamins, we're selling, at least for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're a 50-year-old lady, like you need all of these vitamins. So it's like, I'm not selling a vitamin, I'm selling a luxury yacht. So
Absolutely.
how do you grow that brand recognition without making it feel like we're commoditizing our product? Because that's not what I want to do. So
For sure. Yeah.
how would you
I
recommend that?
yeah. I mean, I think it's an amazing question that a lot of business owners don't answer until it's kind of too late. Uh, at least in hearing that, I think kind of the biggest solution to that would be more just analytics and tracking exactly who you're targeting. So obviously you said you're targeting some like high end. I mean, obviously it's a luxury yacht. You're not targeting just anybody. Same thing with like Rolex watches. You don't see
That's right.
Rolex being advertised at the Super Bowl in front of millions of people because millions of people aren't going to buy a Rolex.
That's right.
Uh, so I think when targeting these like higher end products, I think the first step's kind of to build, like you said, build more brand awareness, build more recognition around it. So even though people who don't have the money yet, they aspire to buy an MJM yacht one day. Like you want to build an audience of people who want to buy your product. And that's how you get more of the high end people to start to take notice. Even if you have some of the lower tier consumers per se, if you have, as you can see on Instagram, some of these businesses that sell these high end products have hundreds of thousands or millions of followers. Obviously, those millions of followers aren't buying their product, but that's just more recognition, more credibility on their end. And then also with that, kind of like I mentioned to start, I think targeting a very, very specific type of person and hitting them very hard, knowing their exact pain points. I mean, I'm sure the marketing team does this often, but just constantly iterating, constantly analyzing on exactly who your target person is. And I think like even the wording and what that comes down to can be very important because again, off of that, you can build pain points and kind of start targeting to those, if that makes sense. And I guess less of pain points when you're selling a yacht and more of,
Well, there are pain points, right? Because I mean, if you
yeah,
think about it, it's just a different pain point. It's um, do I want to pay for the yacht? Do I want to finance a yacht? Like, do I have to sell a boat to um, the pain points are different, right? Like,
for
do
sure.
I have enough room
I
on my
agree.
dock? Where am I going to store it?
Yeah,
Like it like everyone's got a pain point. There's always a problem that you're coming to a solution for, right? And so, yeah, I mean, you're right. So it's identifying, and to your point, like the pain points are different for everybody. But I liked what you said about, I always think of like a Louis Vuitton purse. Like, I don't have one,
yeah.
right? But like women strive for that. And like, I don't even know how many followers Louis Vuitton has,
Oh
or
my
like
gosh. Yeah,
Chanel, or like Hermes. Like all of those luxury brands have thousands, hundreds of thousands, I'm sure, followers, right? And many of them don't have them. So I like that point that MJM can be an aspirational brand and still have, hundreds of thousands of followers because it is that aspirational brand. And, we aren't, like I said, I don't want to change from being a boutique manufacturer. I think that's who we are. And I think that's what keeps our boat special.
for sure.
Um, but we definitely, I'd love
Yeah.
to grow brand recognition.
Yeah. And then I think kind of a thought to add on to that is exclusivity. So like obviously if you guys are promoting like you're only selling this amount of boats in a year, I
That's
think
right.
like really promoting that and saying like we're about to sell out. We're selling 2 more boats for the end of quarter 2, for the end of quarter 3, whatever it is, for the end of the year. We're only selling this many boats. And like you're obviously not lying, but you're more just promoting it so people can see, because obviously how the human brain works, scarcity, psychology, all that stuff plays into it, and people want to buy stuff that they feel like not everybody else can have.
No, that's for sure, right? And I mean, that's definitely a model. I mean, there's different models. There's models where you flood the market with your product and
Yeah,
you get it everywhere, and then you sell it, and often at discount. But that's not what we want to do. When you have a luxury brand, to your point, you want to build scarcity. You want to build that. First of all, you want to build that feeling that not everybody's going to have what you have. So that's why you limit production, because our owners don't want to go to the dock and see 50,000 other MJMs.
exactly.
They want to have
Yeah,
exclusivity.
exactly. Yeah. Uh, and I think it's for sure, it's a different game in growing a personal brand, or like you said, growing kind of a small consumer business, or really a normal business at that, because you can apply to pretty much anybody. Like if you're a pressure washing or car detailing company, everybody needs their driveways pressure washed. Everybody needs their cars cleaned. Not everybody needs a yacht. So you're kind of like targeting a specific group of people, but in that process, you want that specific group of people to make it feel like they're better than everybody else for getting your product, which kind of sounds messed up, but
Well, it's okay. So it is a special type of person, and what you want the person to feel when they buy an MJM is that, it's because we said that it's an aspirational goal. We want them to feel um, proud, right? And it's why we design the yachts to have just a real classic elegance. We're actually coming out with a new series this summer, and
nice.
it's going to be a little bit sportier, and I'm really excited to see the customer base change a little bit. But like I want our customers to step aboard and feel like they matter. And that you can't do if you're producing so many boats in a year, right? Like you want customers to step aboard and see the craftsmanship. So I said earlier, our boats are vertically integrated. Other than speakers and such and electronics, we build everything in house. So the wood, the carpentry, the joinery, everything is handmade, and it's it's incredible. It's attention to detail, it's craftsmanship, and you can't get that you can't get that level of craftsmanship and attention to detail with volume manufacturing. I don't believe it. It's why exclusive luxury car manufacturers don't sell hundreds and thousands of vehicles in a year.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, I guess you kind of answered my next question in that, like, what makes you guys stick out from everybody else? I mean, I think that's amazing. Like,
It's craftsmanship. It's
for
really it's
sure.
craftsmanship. You walk aboard the MJM, and you first of all, the way that we manufacture our hull is different than most other manufacturers, and the fact that we
Huh.
have post-curing ovens. So because we use an epoxy resin, and because we use infusion, our hulls are very light. So, and we have a narrower beam, which allows our boats to be really fuel efficient and perform. So our boats are actually like a performance car on the water. So like some of our
Huh.
competitors of a similar, say 48-foot length, would need 3 600 engines, whereas we only need 2, and we
Hmm.
perform so faster because our boats are so light, and and just have exceptional performance, and that's in the whole design. So oh, I forgot what your question was. Oh, what differentiates us? So I mean, like, we are like, it's the craftsmanship, but it's also just the yacht itself. Like, like I said, it drives like a sports car, and it
Yeah.
feels like luxury.
Amazing. Yeah. Uh, I guess obviously you've had a lot of experiences in this world, in this space, and business itself, and kind of every different role. What would you say is kind of like the biggest lesson or the biggest takeaway that you could have, and kind of give some insight for all of us too, that kind of building this up has like taught you about business?
I think it would be ask questions,
Hmm.
right? So everything, I've been I've been talking more to young professionals, especially in the marine industry, and when they say, well, what advice can you give? My advice is ask questions. Always be the first person to raise your hand if somebody asks for something. I don't care if you know exactly how to do it or not. Raise your
Yeah.
hand, show initiative, but ask questions, learn, read books, learn, talk to people, listen to podcasts, and don't be scared to try new things. Try new things, and if you make the wrong decision, pivot quickly. Like
Hmm.
I always say that too, like,
Yeah, I love
don't
that.
have so much pride in a decision that you stick with it even when you know that it's not the right decision anymore. Know that there's nothing wrong with saying, oh, I looked at that wrong. I need to try something different and pivot. So make decisions, pivot quickly, ask a lot
Yeah.
of questions.
Yeah, that's amazing. Uh, I guess kind of getting more into the future aspect of it. I mean, I'm interested to hear your perspective. Like, where do you think MJM's headed over the next year, 2 years, 3 years, and kind of like
Oh,
what's the vision from here?
I'm so excited about what's happening with MJM. So we are coming out with a new series this summer,
Yes.
and we have partnered and we've rekindled relationships with the original hull designer for MJM. His name is Doug Zern. He's an extremely talented naval architect. So he's helping us with a new model. And we've also partnered with an interior design firm out of Savannah named Verge.
Nice.
And Anita is amazing, and she's helping us with just overall internal being like soft upholstery and wood tones, and just helping with like an overall feel of the yacht. So the next year is going to be incredible, and I'm so excited to be part of it.
Yeah, great. Well, I'm looking forward to keeping up with you guys. I mean, I really appreciate your time. This was amazing. I mean, I got a lot of useful information out of this that I'm going to apply to my own business, and I hope everybody else did too. So I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. You take care, Jake. If you need anything, holler.
For sure. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.